it's kind of too little data to make any really good conclusions on following up the statistics like that. The simplest and most kind of basic funnel you might think of is the AIDA funnel, the attention, interest, decision, and action.
Okay, I didn't know about that. But
You didn't know about that?
no.
Okay.
But that's fine. No, that's
No.
it's self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those are the steps you want to bring a customer through.
Okay.
When you sell products or something, you want that action to come pretty quickly. You want to show them the product, or you want to show something that grabs their attention so they want to know more.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be some weird image that grabs your attention. For instance, Seth Godin has this book called Purple Cow, because you haven't seen a purple cow before. That's quite interesting. So you look, if you see a purple cow in the field of grass, you will have an additional look. So that's kind of grabbing the attention.
Okay.
But then you need some information to make that interesting to read on. It might be a headline. A lot of people use clickbait type titles, like the 3 best ways to do this. And then when you click on them, you have passed the attention part. So then you need to provide some interesting content. Okay. If the content you provide in that 3-step list is not interesting, you will kind of drop off there. But if it's interesting, and you listen to it, you might make a decision, and the decision might be either that you want to subscribe to the channel, or it might be that you want to subscribe to a newsletter. It might be that you decide that this is the product that you want, and then you have the last step is the action, where you actually buy the product or engage in some way.
When you started this, you were saying this is you were talking about when you were expecting people to have more of a quick response to your, whatever you set up for your funnel.
Yeah.
And then I assume you were then going to go on to, for selling a service, or say like if you're a builder or something like that, those kinds of things where it's a big investment and exactly. There's the pain factor for the customer, not just the money, but there is pain involved. Not only have you paid money, but if you're left with something you've spent a lot of money on and it doesn't work, it's not right, it takes longer than you, all that kind of stuff. So that's that's not just say, oh, I've seen that product, I'm going to click.
No, exactly. So in that case, you want to have the entire process is drawn out. So you have to have more content, more time to build trust. So the larger the investment or the pain you're talking about to kind of get to the final product, the more trust you need in the collaboration in order to make the purchase. And in that case, the first attention is kind of doing something where you make people aware that you exist. And that was what you were talking about in the last video, that you were not really looking to sell something initially, but you wanted to make them aware that you could deliver a service. And that's the correct thought in this step of the process, because you cannot expect someone to go in and buy a large IT system for a corporation, because there's a lot of steps until that decision can be made, often, at least in larger corporations. In smaller businesses, it might not be that long. And then you want to have a way to kind of maintain these potential customers in a good way, in a good sense. And how do you do that? What kind of information or thing do you keep in order to keep this relationship going without them buying anything?
So for me, that would be regular blogs, and say on Unicorn, Mike does. He does so much, just like community sort of, free soft, things he's written and things like that. And we put that on our website, which is just a sort of, he's doing it anyway. So
Yeah,
is that the sort of thing that you mean?
yeah, that's usually the this kind of things you're talking about. So community building things is one way of doing it. Trying to create a community where you talk about things. You're hosting these video sessions with your collaborators in England, for instance. That's a really good example of maintaining the relationship, strengthening the relationship in order to be able to collaborate. It doesn't have to mean that they buy something from you. It might be that you buy something from them, but you are creating a community where people engage with each other and build stronger bonds that will create more business in the long run, not only for you but for everyone in that community. So that's one thing. Um, the thing that all these content marketers are talking about is that you need to produce content, and it's going to be a certain quality and stuff like that. Yes, if you can provide content like a newsletter or some course material or something, that is tremendously helpful. But as soon as you write a few newsletters in a row that doesn't engage the particular client you are talking to, uh, they will probably unsubscribe because they don't feel any use of your newsletter, and then they won't read it. Though that is a way to go, where you create content uh, in a newsletter, it's you need to make sure that that content is tailored for your audience. And if I look at your newsletter and if I look at our newsletter that we send out, that is tailored to the audience of developers, because we are basically targeting developers with the marketing of Dataflex.
Yeah.
But we are also consultants that build relationships with other businesses where we write applications, and they are perhaps not that interested in our Dataflex newsletters. They want to know other stuff like how to uh, better structure your information flow in the organization, or how to get a better communication or make KPIs work better with your customers, or how to make dashboards that show your KPIs in a really good manner and stuff like that. And that is um, something that we do not spend too much producing as content, but we do work with it. We do build those things.
Yeah, I agree actually with that very much. Our stuff is more to the developers, not to, like maybe like the managers and the owner type people. They don't care
No,
really about
no, exactly.
some, I don't know, REST API that Mike's written. It's
No, that
not, they don't
what's there's
care.
some code in there that does
Yeah,
something. As that's great, but they are only interested in the final solution, what it does for them. And then you come into course territory, where you perhaps figure out that many of your customers go to a particular fair or have a certain pain, and then you can have a course that where you talk about that pain and how you can solve that pain. And you might give a few suggestions, like in the situation of KPI dashboards and stuff like that. It might be that they want to use Power BI, or they might want to use dynamic AI, or they want to use Dataflix reports or some other graph library directly imported into their application. where you do that, and that might have a few drawbacks or some positive things of doing each of those, and it might be interesting for all those customers to hear the difference between those different options.
Okay.
So those are things that one could perhaps do something more about. I haven't thought thought that through myself either, but
yeah, just add it to the list of things to do.
yeah. There's a lot of things to do here, and that goes back to the previous conversation we had last week about the thought of the customer, what they are looking for, what kind of problems do they want to solve when they go out and hire a new recruit, or uh, go and try to solve something using Excel or what have you.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a lot of things to think about in that regards.
Okay. So with that's attention and interest then.
Yeah, the decision is basically something that they do based on the information they've gotten. So
Okay.
what you do in the decision phase is provide a clear way to make that decision. So let's say that you have an interesting conversation about different ways of making KPI dashboards. Then you end up by giving a clear option. This is option A, this is option B, this is option C, and these are the different drawbacks and of these options. And then they can, if they want to make a decision, either to pick one of them or to pick none of them. And then um, they would, in this case, go and ask you to build something for them, perhaps. Then, if you want to extend the funnels, uh, as you see in Neil Patel and others that are talking about funnel marketing and stuff like that, there um, you have your banners, you have your social media posts, you have your uh, SEO content, you have your email lists, and you have your phone calls and stuff like that, and all of those are interconnected. So when you create your funnel, the attention step of the funnel can be split up into multiple different input streams. So like Facebook ads could be one, and LinkedIn ads and Google ads, or SEO content. And then you can track how much each of those are bringing customers into your funnel. So how many of those that see those attention ads, what have you, actually engage with your content?
Do you do that? Are you actually monitoring? Because I do. Actually, we don't do ads because we don't do any kind of paid sort of stuff. And I keep an eye on Google Analytics and stuff. Not very much. Not. I know I don't do it as much as I should, and I'm not looking at it critically enough. Are you doing that?
I'm trying to get a grip of what's going on. So I'm kind of every month checking up how are the different channels doing, if something that I'm doing on the channel increasing or decreasing. But I'm not going that much into details because I'm I'm not that that's also something that if you sell a lot and you have a lot of potential customers that run through your funnel, that is more relevant to track on a regular basis. But since we do selling a few times a year when we sell a large product, or and then we work for a couple of months building that project and ship it, and then we sell something new. It's kind of too little data to make any really good conclusions on following up the statistics like that.
Glad you said that, because I felt like we have the same scenario, and it didn't feel, it doesn't feel right looking at those kinds of things. Like, I don't know, people finding our price list page. That's it's nice to know that people can find our price list page for buying licenses and things. But I didn't feel that I was getting the right information there. It wasn't. So that's good to hear that you've confirmed that for me.
Yeah. Even though if we produce a lot of content, it could be interesting to see how that content performs if we get the amount of views and stuff like we like. But we still have about 100 or maybe 200 subscribers, and there are like at best 50 to 100 views a week, and that is too little data to draw any conclusions on. Yes, we can see that, okay, this video performed a lot better than the other one, so that might be an indication that someone is interested in it. But we are basically producing a lot of video just to see if there are one of those that makes people interesting, and then we will try to do more of those videos. So we are on an exploration path at the moment, where we try different things, see how they work, see if the market is reacting to what we do, and if they don't do that, then we try something else.
Yeah.
And you have to do that in order to figure out what the market wants. That's kind of market research that we're doing right now. So we cannot sit and follow every single click in the statistics to analyze if this was something that made it positive or negative, or we don't know the reason why people clicked. So it's the grind in the beginning, where you have to talk to the market, either communicate with your customers through phone, produce video content, produce blog posts, and see which one of those are getting attention.